An orgasm that causes her to turn into a demonic fish on dry land. Serious, what's something you thought only existed in porn but actually experienced in real life? Met a chick on one of the apps. We went out for coffee. Coffee turned into back to my place to listen to music. Before I know it, she's taking my pants off and telling me to go in my bedroom. She comes in with her bag. Turns out it is full of lube, dildos, and one of those plugs in giant massager things, Hitachi. And she just asks, "Is this okay?" Gets naked, starts blowing me and jamming her devices everywhere and herself, and lead to some pretty ridiculous sex. We end up getting Chinese food afterward. She ends up leaving, calls me an hour later crying in hysterics saying she was in a car accident. I'm naturally concerned. She says she blacked out and reveals to me she's bipolar and has a sex addiction and she can't see me anymore. 10 out of 10 would do again. Recently had a one-night stand with a girl that legit wanted me to throat fuck her. Like laying on her back with her head hanging off the edge of the bed and just like, yeah, go to town. I stopped a couple of times like, "Are you okay?" And she told me to stop stopping, so I was like, fuck it lol. Cum sluts. Had a girlfriend who would legit get angry if I didn't come inside or let her swallow it. Hot, so I didn't mind, but never thought there were actually girls who had a fetish for cum like that. Girls actually saying stuff like "FK me daddy" or "your CK is so big." I laughed the first time this happened to me. Foot jobs? I've only seen them in porn and they just never seemed hot. Never once felt that I needed to try that. Then one night, a girl I'm hooking up with puts both her feet on my dick and starts stroking. Didn't really do anything for me, but she seemed to enjoy it. Girls that moan while sucking dick. I always thought it was just a porn thing to turn on the viewer until it happened to me and kinda weirded me out. Like, did she really enjoy it that much? Laboratory sex. Professor's office sex. I can't believe how absurd my life was when I was undiagnosed and high all the time. To this day I maintain the easiest path to a threesome is being the guy who brings the coke. Don't do that though. Much less misery in staying clean. Someone literally slapping the shit out of my clitoris. Although he might have done that because of porn. But still, weird, and it wasn't pleasant. Banging high school teacher. Of course, it was several years after high school, but there was still a 22-year age gap. She took pretty good care of herself, so she was still good looking, toned, a little freaky. It was a great confidence booster for myself since I've always struggled with self-esteem. Who would want a chubby, shy, nerdy guy? MILF teachers, it turns out. Hand stuff during a movie with other people around. Halfway through I just thought, holy shit, I'm doing porn. Some women enjoying being drenched in cum. I still don't get it. Between, zero appeal to me personally. Girls being turned on by risky sex. I've had a girl ask me to do it with her on the park bench while people walk by. It'll be okay. I'll wear a skirt. No one will know. In a public toilet, you go in first and make sure no one is inside, then I'll sneak in and we can do it in a cubicle. And on the train at night time, and there were still other people in the carriage. 3 different girls. None of this would ever have occurred to me. I like to have sex at home. I don't want to risk interruption. But some girls, it seems, are turned on by the idea of getting away with sex. I have friends who also had girls ask them for risky sex. A friend had a girl ask him for sex in a farmer's crop field. Again, her idea, not his. She was lying on her back, he was going for it, when all of a sudden he heard a voice, "You can see them from over here, mum." Have to say, ass licking and eating each other's asses. I always imagine those asses to be cleaned with all kinds of chemicals and soaps to even be an average appetizer. I was shocked to hear people I know do this. Sticking a thumb, or any other finger, in your partner's mouth. A guy stuck his thumb in my mouth and I had no idea what to do with it at first. Women who are into slapping or other more abusive treatment in bed. I had an ex who liked being slapped and spit on. And nothing turtles the penis more than an art major calling you daddy while asking you to hit her in the face. Sticking multiple fingers in. I was massaging my girlfriend vagina at first and then she asked if I wanted to go inside. I was weirdly surprised by the fact that I managed to get in 1 finger, let alone 3 lol. Then she told me to go to deeper and I stood there with a dopey expression thinking whoa. My hand is literally inside another human, huh? While she was having the time of her life. It was super hot seeing her enjoy it though. Giving a girl the kind of orgasms that make her say I love you only to immediately backpedal and say that's not what I meant. Women that love giving blowjobs. Giving a woman an anal orgasm. It only happened once. That look in her eyes of my God, is this really happening, in a good way, will live with me forever. Masochism. I met a girl in my late teens who wanted me to bite her neck and breasts so hard while having sex I thought my teeth were going to sink in her skin. I was on vacation on a group tour that stopped in her town. The affair lasted 3 days. She came to say goodbye the last day and I was ashamed cause her neck was black and blue from the bites. Porn moans. I was with a girl after college and she started making the most ridiculous porn moans while I was doing little more than kissing her neck and breasts. At one point, I had to stop and ask her about it, because it was seriously making me soft as a bag of marshmallows. She said her last BF was really into it but was pretty insecure. On a whim, I asked if she wanted me to go down on her, and I reassured her that she should make noise whenever she wanted to, not for me. It was very hot. It started pin drop silent, and then I could hear every breath and gasp as she enjoyed it. As it began to build, she actually got louder and louder, but it was completely different from the porn moans from earlier. She was actually trying to not be so loud, so hearing her give in and actually moan started to drive me wild. After a fantastic, leg-shaking orgasm, I got on top, and we had amazing sex. I was actually surprised how much I liked taking a former porn moaner to an actual moaner. Somewhat ironically, if I do stumble across a super mainstream porn scene, it reminds me of that woman, and makes me very aroused. Chick I saw was into saying no and putting up a fight. The first time she said no I was just like alright, but then she whispered in my ear she didn't really want me to stop. So I kept going and she kept saying no and she was pushing me off her and slapping me and all of a sudden I was slapping her back, calling her a bitch and doming the F out of her. Her smile when shit was getting real was one of the purest forms of joy I've ever seen. It was really touching and beautiful. Having a female houseguest and her friend come to your bedroom wearing only towels and asking if you're interested in a threesome. Squirting was the big one for me. I literally never thought it was a real thing because it just seemed like the most obviously fake thing I had ever seen in porn next to the so-called lesbians. But sure enough, the last 6 sexual partners I've had have been squirters and did it nearly every time we had sex. Also, women being into really hardcore degradation, like choking, gagging, and being abused until they're crying. It's not something that actively gets me off, but I have had partners who are into it and really understanding what makes someone enjoy it and that it's all enjoyable for them makes it a bit more pleasurable on my end. My coworker told me she is a cam girl, she uses to take photos for other girls. She explained to me that she would sleep with the girls sometimes. She also said that I could be her photographer if I wanted to before she kissed me on the cheek, laughed, and then went home. I was rock hard for a month. Girls calling you daddy. I really had no expectation that any woman would pull that out in any kind of serious fashion, then one day a girl let an ooh daddy slip out at me. Afterward, I asked her about it and she confessed that it was a thing for her and would I please call her princess. Spanking and strangling. And not like a little but really hard. Just normal good-looking girls walking down the streets wants me to be strangling them almost to blackouts and spanking them as hard as I can manage and still once more it's just so weird to me. But I'll do it, I'm not one to judge. When I was 19 I was a long-haired shy agoraphobic guy, so I would go to small hairdressers to get my hair cut in an effort to avoid the crowds. The woman who cut my hair was an older woman, maybe late 40s or early 50s. She was kind of a hippie, no kids, no husband, believed in spiritual crystals and that kind of stoner shit, slightly alternative. In front of others, she treated me normally, but when we were alone she would often caress my shoulders during cutting my hair, and later on, I would get my opinion on clothes she would try on. She would occasionally flirt, but I was shy at the time and wasn't sure how I felt about it. It all seemed so surreal and I wasn't willing to make a move in case I had read the situation wrong. I wasn't even sure I wanted to. Nowadays I have a bit of a thing for MILFs and looking back on things has made me realize that yeah, she was into younger guys and trying to fuck me. I'll never 100% know, but I never saw her do anything like that with any other person she cut the hair of. So I guess older women who want young men exist. I'm a construction worker and wives, MILFs, and straight up an animal of a person will aggressively make advances on you, no care in the world. I'm a big guy, 6 feet, pretty good looking too, but some of those women scared me. So I recently got a job as a pizza delivery driver. On my 3rd day of delivery, I got a blowjob from a customer. The story goes like this: I was taking a pizza to this woman in a hotel, which isn't uncommon because our delivery area is close to an airport. The delivery instructions say to call when in the lobby, but they didn't opt for contactless delivery. So I arrived and I called her in while in the lobby to let her know that I'm in the lobby and that I would be at her room in a moment. I head up and knock on the door to her room, and the moment she opens the door, I get a face full of lingerie. I don't mention it or anything because I'm like, oh, I'm sure she is someone else in there already, plus I'm super awkward with people anyway. So I hand her the pizza and she says she has to get her cash, but she invited me in. As she's handing me her payment, she asks if I want an extra tip. I'm like, of course, I'll take anything I can get, and she's like, well, how about a blowjob? I kind of just stood there for a moment because it was surreal. It truly was like a scene out of porn. Obviously, I take her up on the offer because that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity right there. I felt awful afterward because she asked for the pizza to be free and I agreed, but on my way out, I accidentally grabbed her cash anyways because I'm awkward and forgot since my mind was blown just a second ago. Met some girls that really do like to gag on the cock. Always figured that was part of the whole weird domination thing in porn, where the guy treats her like shit. But nope, you're into that and that's just fine. My roommate liked to walk around in her underwear and we eventually started banging semi-frequently. It was a pretty sweet arrangement to be living with a booty call. I got with a girl who had an oral fixation once. People think they know what that means, but they don't. The condom broke, so she just sucked me off. For an hour and a half. I nutted like 4 times and every time she'd just chill for like 30 seconds then go right back to it without me asking, and she was just thrilled to do it. It got to a point where it didn't even feel good anymore, but I didn't want to stop her cause I knew it was a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Part of me thought she just really liked me. Then she told me her favorite food is popsicles. I carry a ring with me at all times, so if I ever see this girl again I can propose. Japanese girls moaning. I always thought that they exaggerated their moans until I had an exchange in Tokyo for a month. Wow! Yes, I was a pool boy in CT for a few summers and would be left alone at houses to vacuum pools and clean filters. There was one house where the woman was recently a widow. And as I am doing my job, headphones on as usual, I look up and she's just standing there naked with an inviting look on her face. Mind you, I am 25 at the time and in my best physical appearance years. She was in her early 60s but was once a trophy wife, so was certainly attractive still. We had sex every 2 weeks for several months even after the fall came and the pools closed. Ex-girlfriend jerked me off in the back seat of her parents' car while her parents were driving. She did it underneath a sweater and right when I came she went down and swallowed my load. Risky times. I'm convinced her mom knew because we did this multiple times, lol. I went bowling with 2 friends. We all got drunk on cheap beer. Walked back to my place. They suggested we play strip twister. By the time we're all naked, one decides the next step for losing is spankings. Finally, one is lying on her stomach while I'm lightly whipping her while the other is blowing me. I only had sex with that one because the one getting whipped was my housemate's girlfriend. He was at work. I was a bit afraid that he'd be angry but saw me the next day and thought it was hilarious. Said he was just sad he wasn't there. Thank you for watching Reddit Space. Please subscribe if you love these Reddit stories.